Thanks for having me. Thanks for allowing me. My question is, most times I feel as if I'm by myself, that I don't connect with the people around me, that my universe is different than, not just different, but I'm the only one in my universe and not connecting to those around me.
Well, part of that is true and part of it isn't. You all are technically in your own universe because you are all offering a vibration that is uniquely yours. And so you have a relationship with the source within you that is potentially there. And when you find it, you'll be so satisfied that you'll never care if there's anyone else that ever rendezvous with you, because being tuned in, tapped in, turned on to all of that is really a rewarding and satisfying experience. But that isn't the reason that you're describing this in the way that you are. You're describing it this way because you do a good job of getting in that place that you mean to be, and others just don't relate to you, and you don't relate to them. So what you're really amplifying here for us is this difference in discs that we were talking about. In other words, when you are on a disc that's different than most people who are around you. Now, this seems a little tricky because it doesn't seem like an accurate statement for us to say you're on a disc and the people who are around you aren't on the same disc, because law of attraction wouldn't let that happen. If you're on a high-flying disc, there are other high-flying people that you're rendezvousing with on a pretty regular basis. So what this means is you're jumping around on the discs too. In other words, you're letting things that you are observing control your frequency more than you mean to. Esther does that too. She'll find herself nitpicking over something that really couldn't matter less, but it's just an old habit over some old thought that she got going, and she just garnered a little momentum and off she went and didn't mean to. And so sometimes you find yourself on a disc that is different than the one that you would actually choose. But law of attraction never lets you be alone. Never. If you're on the ornery disc, there's ornery people around you. If you're on the fearful disc, there's fearful people around you. If you're on the high-flying disc, there are high-flying people around you. So describe to us a little more, if you can, what you mean by yourself. Not relating to them? Them not getting you, you not getting them?
Yes, being able to communicate with most, like you said earlier, words cannot really describe an experience.
Well, then what that means, this is the easiest way to say that. So there's you on your high-flying disc and following the impulse of that. And so if you're on your high-flying disc and you've given yourself permission to follow your impulse, then your impulse is going to take you into the company of others who are flying high. But you might have something else going on, an old belief, an old habit of thought that goes something like, I'm a committed person, or I am a loyal person. In other words, on your high-flying disc, you might not be inspired to go to the family reunion, but a committed person would go anyway. In other words, you might show up in the family parties or the neighborhood parties because you're expected to be there by others that you don't want to disappoint. In other words, if you're letting your shoulds dictate your rendezvous rather than your wants, ooh, we're really onto something, aren't we? We've been teasing you all for a long time. When you go to that family reunion, law of attraction probably didn't take you there. You probably went out of obligation. And so more and more what will happen, this is the reason that this conversation that we're having today is so exhilarating to us, because we've been watching enough of you, including Esther, getting onto that high-flying disc deliberately and maintaining it, to see that you are noticing a noticeable difference in your chronic rendezvousing. In other words, after you do this for a while, there is just no question in your mind about how the universe works and why you're rendezvousing with who you're rendezvousing with. But if you are sort of scattered and sporadic about it, then you don't have that confidence, you don't have that knowing. It's the difference between letting the intellect guide you rather than the emotion. For example, let's say that you're around a dinner table and someone talks about having an experience in traffic that was unpleasant. And that reminds somebody else of having a similar time in traffic that was unpleasant. And so now everybody's jumping in with stories. And yes, they have vibrational samenesses, so law of attraction is guiding it. But it would be like Esther telling a story about something because the words were the same rather than because the feeling was the same. It would be like somebody saying the word Tucson and then you wanting to tell everything you know about Tucson, not considering the vibrational content of it. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.
And so most people are engaging based upon words and the way words line up together and words and the way words are relating to each other rather than the vibrational content of the words. Did that make sense to you? Where if you've been hanging around on this high-flying disc for a while, Esther began announcing, mostly to herself and to a few close friends, I'm becoming a vibrational snob because I'm just not willing to go there. I'm just not willing to go there. There are dozens and dozens of television programs that she was enjoying in the past that she can't even bear to watch. She just flashes around from channel to channel to channel to channel to channel to channel to channel and ends up turning it off because there is nothing there that is vibrationally up to speed with where she is. So almost everything causes her to take a dip in her vibration. It's all trouble here and trouble there and trouble there and rudeness here and rudeness there and rudeness there and poverty here and poverty there and poverty there. And Esther is asking herself, why do I want to expose myself and get momentum going on something that is for sure going to keep me off my high-flying disc? And so earlier when we were telling you about these discs and how there's the really good feeling one, this is a statement that was the most meaningful and is going to lead us to the next thing that we want to say to you. When you were on the fearful disc, we said emphatically, your inner being, the source within you, is not going to rendezvous with you on that disc. If you're on the overwhelmed disc, your inner being, the source within you, is not going to rendezvous with you on the overwhelmment disc. But if you're on the joy disc, if you're on the fun disc, if you're on the elated disc, if you're on the appreciation disc, your inner being is going to rendezvous with you there. Now we want to remind you the power of that rendezvous with that source energy is a leverage that we cannot even describe to you. In other words, the discs seem sort of equal in terms of I could choose that one, or I could choose that one, or I could choose that one, or I could choose that one. And they seem equal in that I could get momentum going on that one, or I could get momentum going on that one, or I could get momentum going on that one. And they seem sort of equal in that this one will rendezvous me with like-minded, and this one will rendezvous me with like-minded, and this one will rendezvous me with like-minded. But this one will rendezvous me with like-minded, and who is that like-minded? That's source. That's non-physical. That's non-resisted. That's all-knowing. You want to rendezvous with that. There's huge leverage in that and huge momentum in that, you see. That was good. Yeah. So when you take the time to be there, what you notice is you're not alone. You get surrounded by those that are like that. And you'll enter into conversations that are just thrilling. You just find yourself breathless with each other. Just even talking concepts, talking laws, just offering words and insights. You just find yourself thrilled as you are anticipating future. Or even as you are examining present and past, you find yourself finding all of the rich nuggets, all of the beneficial factors of all that you've been through and all that you now are living. There just is no comparison. These discs are comparative, yes, but there's no comparison in chronic alignment with that high-flying disc. It puts you in a place that you will not be vibrationally compatible with the majority of the planet. but there are enough to keep you happy, we promise you. And you see, the thing about that is, when you get on that high-flying disc, you don't rendezvous with the problems of the masses. It doesn't make you ignore them. You're rendezvousing with the solutions that they are asking for, even though they aren't. You're rendezvousing with what they want, even though they're not. So sometimes, you know how we've just been talking about you, Esther too, all of you, sort of hit or miss, ending up on different vibrational places? Those people are doing the same thing. And every now and again, they accidentally end up on a high-flying disc. Every now and again. They hear Matchbox 20. And the song reaches them. And they're just thrilled for a moment. They feel in love for just a moment, in love for just a moment. Boom! You're in the vicinity, like the bird, like the skunk. You're in the vicinity. And the rendezvous occurs. And you on your high-flying disc has a moment with them. It's not a usual moment for them. It's a usual moment for you. They just sort of didn't luck into it. They just sort of stumbled into it because they're not consistently on that disc. But they're like most people all over the board. When you're consistently on it, you meet them at their best everywhere you turn. So you meet up with somebody that's not consistently there. Just like you at one time were not consistently there. But you meet up with them and they are sort of freakishly there for a moment. And you just say just the right thing. You just say just the right thing that just helps them as you crack their back right into alignment for a moment. You just help them feel better right here and now. You won't be lonely, we promise you. Get on your high-flying disc, and the entire world will meet you on your terms. It's just the loveliest way to be. Helpful?
Yes.
Something more?